Welcome to today's episode of the Voices of Boyle podcast. Our guest today is Mary Regan. Welcome, Mary, to the Voices of Boyle.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much. I'm Mary Regan. I was originally Mary Bridget Tansey from Boyle, Elphin. I grew up there as a child on a farm with my mum and dad, and my dad was John Tansey, who was a native of Trinamarla in Bannameen, and my mum is a Elphin woman, so she was originally from Boyle herself. So I grew up there. I went to school in the local school there was an old school in Boyle, a country school. So I spent a little while there and I left it and I went to school in Croghan. And the two teachers I had in Croghan was Mrs. Fay, who was Annie Fay, and Michael O'Callaghan. Michael O'Callaghan was a native of Elphin town, and Mrs. Fay was a Gildee from over at the Thatch pub, which is on your way going into Carrick-on-Shannon. And I did all my primary education there with them. And I left there and I went to the convent school in Elphin in 1968. And I went to there for the convent school, which was run by the Sisters of Mercy. And it was enjoyable. And we had good times as well as cross times. But anyway.
So that was the secondary school, Mary?
That was my secondary school. And then the convent school combined with the grammar school. And we spent leaving cert in the grammar school as well. And then I left that when I finished my leaving. And then I started working in the post office on the switchboard in Morris's in Elphin. And I was there for 4 years until I got married. And in that space of time, I met up with Christy. Well, we used to meet here and there at different things. I could never say, well, that was the first meeting we had, but we used to often meet. But anyway, my first official date was in the Royal Hotel in Boyle on the 4th of January 1978, and the rest is history after that, because we kept going. We were going out for 2 years, and then we got married on the 19th of April 1980 in St. Patrick's Church in Elphin by Father Gearty, and there was Father Michael Donnelly and Father Bobby Jones here in Boyle. So we had our reception in the Forest Park Hotel, which was run by the Gilmartin family at the time. And then our honeymoon was down in County Clare. And then after that, Christy started the photographic business down in the bottom of Green Street in what was Mary Lavin's Fashions at the time, and I joined him. And as it always was, my thing that I always had a great liking for photographs myself and photography, that it was only a clicking together of Christy and myself in that end of it.
So that's interesting, Mary. So you also had an interest in
photography? I always had.
Isn't that amazing? And I suppose when you got together, it was something you started to talk about and kind of realised.
And I wanted to literally during my school days, wanted to study photography. And of course, I wasn't encouraged at home because people thought at home that it wasn't going to be a great livelihood.
Yeah.
But anyway, we made the best out of it.
It worked out.
It did work out.
So that's gas. So just taking a little step back there to when you met Christy. So you've mentioned there that you met in the Royal Hotel, which was obviously one of the main place in Boyle.
Yeah, it was actually the Lord of Mercy on Sean Rattigan, who was Peg Rattigan's husband, and he was running a business. He was a contractor, and I remember he had every January he used to have a dinner dance, and the whole country would be at it. But that was where we met, literally the 4th of January, 78. And then we got married, and we had our business in Mary Levin's Fashions down at the bottom of Green Street.
In where Matt Burke is now.
Where Matt Burke is now. Yes, indeed.
And Mary, when you met Christy, you were still living up at between Elphin and Croghan, were you?
I was.
So you just came down to the dance for the night.
Yeah.
And that's gas. And just as you said it there, so you got married on the 19th of April 1980.
Yeah.
That was 2 years after you had met in the Royal Hotel, and you had your reception in the Forest Park Hotel, which, like many couples did back in the day, it was a fantastic venue to have in the town, wasn't it? For weddings and events. And
like the Forest Park Hotel was the place for every wedding. And I remember well, often looking through the Christie's diary, and he wouldn't have a vacant Saturday from about May until September.
Full.
Everything was full, and nearly them all would be going to the Forest Park Hotel.
Jesus, and that's something else for a wedding.
Sometimes they used to be going maybe over to Mayo, but and to the county in Carrick. Now the county in Carrick is not there anymore, but it was the sister hotel to the Bush Hotel, and they all did very well as well.
Brilliant.
So
your story began in two of Boyle's big hotels, would be the Royal Hotel and then the Forest Park Hotel.
Yeah.
And you said, Mary, so you got married in April 1980.
Yes.
2 weeks after the wedding, you moved to Boyle.
We did. Well, when we came back from our honeymoon, we started our business there,
And what was that like for you, Mary? Because obviously you were moving from the country to the town.
Well, I was used to, I'd often come down at a weekend or come down on a Saturday from home to Regan's. And at that time, Christy was living at home, which is above in Bells Park, with his mother, Molly, and his sister Bernadette and Sally. They were all living there. Now, Sally got married the year before us to Anthony Reynolds, and she moved to Castlebowden. So then they were all living, Bernadette was living at home, and they were all living up in Bells Park, and their house is just above the Church of Ireland.
Right.
In Bells Park. And then we moved in. Our home was where the business was, at the bottom of Green Street.
So you lived above the business. It's where Matt Burke's is now. Did you live above it?
Matt Burke. Yeah.
And the business, Mary, did you open it up as a photography business?
We did.
Initially?
We did.
And did you have a dark room, or did you get the photos developed somewhere else?
No, Christy had the use of the dark room from Sean Fox and Mickey.
Right.
Up in Marion Road. And he used to use the darkroom to print the photographs for the paper, because he'd have a big deadline for a Monday morning to have everything ready for the Herald, because they were always scheduled for Monday morning to have everything ready. And he used to use their darkroom, but everything else was down at the bottom of Green Street. That's
Fantastic.
That's where we dealt with people and took photographs.
Yeah.
You know,
you have a little studio there?
We had, yeah.
And I suppose if people wanted to make a booking, they had to come in person and do it.
Oh, they had to do it in person, yeah, absolutely.
So that's lovely, Mary. So that was, I suppose, your life changed when you moved to Boyle and started the business.
Well, it didn't, it wasn't...
It was a new chapter.
As such.
A new chapter.
It was a new chapter, and I was enjoying it and I was looking forward to it.
Good, yeah.
And then 3 years afterwards, Joe came along. So Joe was born the 7th of July 1983, and he was born in Sligo General, and he was our first child, and it was a surprise for me for the simple reason Joe was 10 weeks premature. He was born the 7th of July and he wasn't due until the 12th of September.
Wow.
So he was only 3.5 pounds when he was born, and he survived it because he had a shaky start. But anyway, everything came better, and he has grown up to see it all now in his lifetime.
Great. And that was another start of another new chapter.
It was.
Yeah.
And then, 2 years afterwards, Evelyn arrived the 8th of December 1986. And she came. She was a Christmas baby. She was born the 8th of December. And then 3 years after that, Enda arrived the 30th of January 1990. So
another winter baby.
Another winter baby, yeah, exactly. So they've all grown up. They've all done their own thing. They're all working, and enjoying life.
And Enda, Mary, has taken on some of his dad's traits when it comes to his hobbies.
When I retired last year, Enda took on doing photography, and he has enjoyed doing it, and that he's quite busy between doing weddings himself and every kind of a social event for the paper.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So he still has that link to the Roscommon Herald.
He has, and he always had that feeling for doing photographs. You know,
and of course he has taken on the musical strain as well.
He has.
He's in the band called The Sessions.
Because Dad, in his early days, was very much involved with musicals in Boyle, and with music as well.
Yeah.
And Enda has all of those, and Enda he's on a band and he drums, and he is involved with musicals as well. Great.
And I'd say it's lovely for you to see Christy's passions live on.
It is, yeah.
You know, in Enda.
Yeah. And even the family members, the extended family, like what he does. You know, that it's a trait of Christy coming out in him.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, this is it.
And Mary, I have written here a bit just to shine the limelight a bit on Christy, because obviously Christy was one of Boyle's great characters.
Yeah.
And played a monumental role in the town through photography and his different hobbies and talents and things.
Yeah.
And I suppose the podcast has started many years too late in terms of capturing the likes of Christy, but I'd like to maybe spend a little time on him today and talk a little bit about Christy. So I've written down a bit of the history from the books and from a bit of information I got online. Now, obviously, everybody in Boyle will know Christy, but just a bit of the backstory. So, as you said, Christy was born in Bells Park in Boyle.
He was.
His parents were Gussie and Molly.
That's right.
And he was the eldest of 5 children. His younger siblings was Michael, Maura, Bernadette and Sally.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, they mightn't know, he was a talented runner back in his school days, returned home with trophies.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
He had a deep love for music and played in bands like the Blue Rockets.
Yeah.
Played double bass.
He did.
And he was in a band called the Jiveneers, I think. The Jiveneers.
Yeah.
Gardening was another one of Christy's great passions. He loved working as a gardener for over 20 years for Hugh and Pam Stewart.
He was in Stewart's for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
And he loved exploring North Roscommon, Sligo and Leitrim in his Renault 4.
Yeah.
And
that was OEI. I remember the
you don't know the number plate, do you?
OEI 50.
Oh, you're deadly. You're deadly.
Yeah.
And he obviously had a deep love for music. He had a deep love for gardening, love for adventure and outside in the great outdoors.
Yeah, it was.
But it was photography really that
it was.
took a front seat, Mary, and shaped much of Christy's life. So he started working at O'Leary's Chemist as a young boy and developed a deep love for photography and cinema during that time.
Because Mort O'Leary was the man who was the chemist there, and he was Liam O'Leary's father.
Okay.
And he used to bring Enda or Joe or
Christy
helping him to develop films, and that was where Christy got an insight into how films were developed, and the process of developing them and printing them and washing them, because you had a big wash to wash a film after being developed to make sure that there was no residue on it. So,
and do you know, Mary? Because I don't know. Just you mightn't know either. But where was O'Leary's Chemist in Boyle?
Chemist O'Leary's was where they the hairdresser that moved over to Main Street beside.
Oh, Philippa's.
Yeah, that's where it was.
Okay. Yeah. So he was literally around the corner, and that's where his love for photography grew.
It was.
Yeah.
He used to go in there in the evenings or at the weekends as a youngster, and he'd be helping Mort to develop films, and that's where it all started. And when you have kind of a liking for those things yourself, it doesn't take a lot to
bring it out.
To bring it out, right.
And then his love for photography then eventually led him to becoming a full-time photographer for Michael O'Callaghan at the Roscommon Herald.
That's right.
And other papers.
Yeah. Well, he did quite an amount of photography. The amount of weddings that he has done of people, the amount of couples.
I'd say so, Mary.
You couldn't put a number on them, and the amount of things that he recorded and events, and going back to years from various things. I think one thing was the burning of the house in Rockingham. And another thing was, going back in the 80s, was the big fire that was in Balladreen. That was a factory. It was where...
was it the meat factory?
The meat was, that.
So he captured that.
He did.
What was it like back then, Mary? Like, would you be sitting down to the dinner and Christy would get word of something and he'd be off with the camera?
Well, for a long time we had no phone, and it would end up that Micheál or somebody from the Herald Works had come round the corner to him, and you might only get 10 minutes to get a coat and out the door and gone.
So it was a full-time job, really. He was on call all of the time.
Yeah.
And did you go with him back then, or were you involved as much in that side of it?
No, it was a little while afterward. When I used to go with him for a lot of things. There again, I had a liking for it, and we end up going here, there, and everywhere. And distance was never a problem. You'd end up, and he always had the Wellingtons in the car, because you never know what kind of conditions you'd have to go into that you'd need Wellingtons to get there and to record what you were supposed to be doing. you know, so.
Incredible, really, when you think of it, because
it was a lot of work.
I'd say so.
And if it was like this, if you didn't like it, be that you were as well go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you had to kind of take
like
it as it came. Yeah.
You had.
And I suppose you had the children there to look after as well. So
this is it.
You couldn't really be, dropping everything and going off.
Oh, well, this is it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a good while afterwards when they were in secondary school that I began to go out far more with him to do jobs. And he'd be taking the photographs, and I'd be taking the records of the details of what the photograph was.
Yes, you'd be getting the details of who's in it.
Yeah, because it would be too fast for, him to take the photograph, try and take captions. Now, it did happen at times.
Yeah. And then he'd probably forget as well.
And another thing that he was involved with, two very important things, was the time the bank robbery was in Balladrine, when the guards were shot. He was on that. And actually, I saw the photographs where they had the bullet holes in the patrol car where the guards were shot.
My God.
And it was frightening.
And Christy was there for all of that?
He was there for all of that. There again, he got very short notice. And knowing Christy, be dead, he put the pedal to the road, I can tell you, to get there. And another thing was, do you remember when Don Tidy was captured, released from the wood in Bannamore? He was there for that as well.
God. And has pictures of it.
Yes, the thoughts of it. It would nearly send shivers down you.
Wow, was he very brave though? Like,
he was
to be putting himself in that line of, because it was risky at times.
It was. But you see, you do the job, but you think last.
Yes.
You wouldn't think how dangerous some of these things could be. And like, when you do think back on some of them was extremely scary.
Yeah.
And very, very dangerous. But thanks be to God, this day and age, the same things don't happen. They do happen, but not here. You're talking about maybe in Dublin, if you're dealing with drug gangs and that sort of thing. But like those things, that over at that crossroads at Balladrine, that was scary. And the one in Bannamore, so...
Thank God, yeah. And I suppose, look, he was a professional in the sense that he had a job to do, and he did it.
He did it. Yeah. He did.
And then, Mary, like, just as you were saying there, because we were talking about Christy and how probably everybody in Boyle would have one of his photos somewhere in the house.
Oh, they would. Absolutely.
He must have such a treasure trove of...
Well, I can tell you, the amount of boxes of negatives that's above in our attic, as I often used to think, jeepers, someday I'll see cracks in that ceiling.
The whole lot will come down.
Yeah. But the awful thing is, this day and age, there's no way of printing negatives. Especially 2 1/4. Now, when this may sound, you haven't
go on ahead.
2 1/4 was the square negatives, and that was off the Rolly camera. And 35mm took over from the 2 1/4. But the 2 1/4 negative was a much better quality. You had a better quality photograph because you could enlarge the photograph up to whatever size. You could go 16 by 20
And it should still be crisp.
And it'll still be a perfectly clear photograph.
Wow. And did you say you like, obviously you'd have a lot of them negatives. You can't print them today.
No, you can't. There's no way of process. It's gone out of date. Kodak is gone out of Ireland and is not available anymore. And they're not making film anymore.
Yeah.
But it will, in time, it'll come back. I bet it will. It could be a long time down the road, but it will come back because people the need for it to come back. Because I know, granted, digital is fine and it's quick and easy and very handy and all like that, but some of them you might not be able to blow up even bigger than 20 by 60.
That's true. And I suppose for younger people listening, the younger listeners, film versus digital, worlds apart.
Oh, they're worlds apart. Absolutely.
And how did you find the switch, Mary, going from film to digital?
No, it was only, I remember Christy, I remember him saying, we'll have to go and buy a digital camera because we have to go with what's happening and the demand for it, because the paper at that time was looking for photographs. They'd be looking for something quite quickly. And how could you provide that? You couldn't. So to go with the digital camera, you had your photographs, your images there the minute you took them. And you were able to go and print. And then you had places that was able to have machines that was able to provide you with that, rather than going to the dark rooms were going out of date at that stage. When digital came in, it was goodbye film and goodbye dark rooms. So
you were kind of forced into it.
You had to. Yeah. You were. There was no. You hadn't to think. Well, should we or shouldn't we? You have to come to a stage you realise you have to do it if you want to keep in the limelight.
Yeah. Well, please God, it does come back, and some of them negatives can get printed.
Oh, yeah.
Because God knows what...
the boxes of stuff is up there, and we often do check them, make sure they're all right and all like that.
Yeah.
But, time... I wouldn't get rid of everything now, I can tell you.
Oh, God, no. Because you never know. Because I know Carlo would obviously be big into the photos, and he got some of them developed. But again, probably not near as old as some of Christie's.
Yeah.
But if they get damaged with mould or dampness or anything, they're gone. So you have to mind them as well.
Yeah. Well, this is it. So
that's interesting, Mary. So that takes us from the film to the digital, and I suppose digital is obviously where it is at today.
Yeah.
And your own journey then working for the Roscommon Herald, did you enjoy that? And you got to meet so many people.
Well, there again, it was my love for photographs.
Yeah.
And it was only when was it? It was about 1990. No, it was earlier, 1989, when Christy decided that he had enough of it and he was going to give it up. And I always remember there was this weekend that he was actually sick in Sligo General, and he had a wedding, and he was in a tizzy over, how are we going to manage that? Who will we get? I said, leave it to me.
Good woman.
And I'll do it. I did it. That was my first introduction. I did. It was a Church of Ireland wedding down in Colooney. And I did it, and it worked out fine for me, and I enjoyed it. And the rest is history with me after that. I said, right, here goes.
The
next job, I'm going to do it as well.
And I did it. Did he go with you for the first one, or did you do it all by yourself? No,
because he was in Sligo General at the time.
Yeah.
And I went, and that was it.
Good woman. So you took the bull by the horns and off you went.
It was literally a deep end. And I certainly wasn't going letting someone else come in on our patch.
Dead right. And I'd say that was peace of mind for Christy as well.
Yeah, it was a relief.
Yeah. And that was the start of your chapter then, Mary, and your involvement with the Roscommon Herald and all.
Yeah.
And then you said you only retired last year.
Yeah, I just felt, well, I had enough of it, and when you come to a stage where you want to just
a bit more me time.
Yeah, well, this is it.
Yeah.
So then Enda took over from me.
Great.
And he's enjoying it all, and more than a thing, he's thrown in at the deep end at a lot of things,
Yeah, but like you, he'll figure it out and he'll enjoy it and have his time.
Yeah, exactly.
And Mary, I'd say it was a great thing to have to get out and meet people and talk to people.
It was. Yeah.
Because you'd be at every event in the town, really.
Well, no matter where you were, no matter what town you were in, and you were bound to be in somewhere between Elphin or Strokestown or Bannadrain. Like we could be anywhere.
Yeah.
And the amount of people you get to know when you're out on jobs like that, and well, I'm the sort of person I say hello to every Tom, Dick and Harry.
Yeah,
and
so everyone would know you too, I'd say.
Well, this is it, that you get to know everyone and anyone, know?
And you know what? It's not till you get older in life that you appreciate how important those photos are.
Oh, yeah.
Like at the time, and I'm sure you see it yourself or you've seen it over the years. Oh, no, don't take that photo. I don't want my photo taken.
Oh, will you stop? That drives me mad.
Yeah. But looking back now, and I just have Christy's 2 books here that we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But the memories, like there's
memories.
Photos of characters in there that we've only heard about, but we've never actually seen.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They're so important.
Yeah,
like the Regan family have played such a pivotal role in recording those memories.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Isn't that such a lovely thing to have?
It is. It is.
And you did a great job, Mary. We'll talk about the books now. Through the lens.
Yeah.
So what was you said here, actually, I'll read out from your own words in the intro to the first volume. A wonderful husband, dad and brother, his strength of character, wisdom and laughter are the rock on which we base our lives. Christy always knew that I would compile this book. It was mentioned over the years. He knew too that I would not do it in his lifetime due to his ill health.
Yeah.
So Christy knew you were going to do the books.
It was something he used to often, now and again, he'd bring up the thought. He'd say to me, well, wouldn't you think someone that knows me would have put a book together? And I used to laugh and say, oh, no, you can be sure of it. I'll do it out here in time to come.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe when you're not around, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
Or, no, I didn't want to say it like that to him, but that it would be. And I always had that thought in my head that somehow or another. And I remember it was only about a fortnight after Christy dying. Christina, who is the editor in the Herald, was on to me, and she said, would you ever think of doing a book on Christy? Well, maybe, because I didn't want to say yes too quickly.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe. So I discussed it with our own family, and we decided, right, here goes. We're going to attack it. So anyway, Joe and Enda and Evelyn and myself, and well, we gathered up more photographs. The Lord save us that we were able to put captions on and know who the people were in them, because you'd find a bundle of photographs and you wouldn't have an idea who the people were. And so we decided on that, And it took us a little while, not too long. So we brought it up and we put it all together, and we decided we'd have it ready for printing by the end of November of that year. And we had the launch in King House, and the books flew out the door. I never forget, I remember the bookshop that was above in Super Value. On the Saturday, there was about 4 boxes of books sold, and they were still looking for more, and they sold extremely well.
Brilliant. And Mary, did you always plan for 2 books?
So, well, we said we'll see how the first one goes.
Yeah.
And then when I saw how good the second thing was, how good that everything was going for us, that there was a possibility that there was the possible
for the 2 volume, for the second
volume 2.
Yeah.
And there was enough photographs there. We had gathered enough that was able to provide us by putting them into another book.
Fantastic.
And then what we said was, well, we'll see when all 2 books, now there's some books still in our house, but we contribute to Shout, which is, that's in Sligo General, it's the oncology department. And we were able to contribute 5,000 to the hospital as a result of the sale of the 2 books.
And if anybody wants to get their
they're
hands on
still
the books,
available.
They're still available.
They're still available.
So it's Christy Through the Lens, volume 1, and then there's also the volume 2.
Yeah.
And do you know what? You did a fantastic job. What I love about it is there's the stories as well. Yeah. And tributes from different people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I just think it's so lovely to have that.
It is.
You know, because everyone, you know, sometimes it takes for someone to not be around anymore.
Exactly.
For all the stories to come out. You know, so it's lovely that they're captured.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many, for anyone that hasn't seen the book, I mean, the standout photos in there of all of Boyle's great characters. There's pictures of all the old musicals. There's pictures of Mother Teresa and Bishop Christy Jones in Sligo when she got the freedom of the city of Sligo. Yeah. There's the old postman Jim Lloyd getting the post down at the Northern Bank pillar box. There's photos of different school photos, dinner dances, the last steam train leaving Boyle, the last wall of Rockingham House. Like, it's an absolutely amazing blend of photos and stories. So now the relaunch is on the cards, Mary Regan.
And the funny thing is, I have heard a lot of people to say, well, you go through the books and what you don't see this time, you'll see it another time.
100%. 100%.
No more than there's a thing, and I always think, is people to take photographs of, we'll say if a shop closes.
Yes.
Take a photograph of that, because that's going to change.
Oh, absolutely. And what Christy was doing back then was documentary photography.
It was.
Capturing all those changes.
Yeah.
And I think the more digital and the more technology we have, we're not recording the little things that Christy would have. Like, I'm sure now for example, one of the photos in the book there is the construction of the houses at Green Street.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if there's houses going up here in Boyle now, not a one would go up and take a photo because they just wouldn't think of it.
Yeah.
But they're the things that people look back on. And to be honest, the books as well make a fabulous gift.
Well, it's amazing. Enda sells quite a few over the internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
And
all it takes is a little bit of push of that, and it's be amazing what can happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So what's the future for Mary then? Are you more relaxed, and what hobbies do you like to do now, or have you taken up anything since retiring?
I haven't planned anything major at the moment. So
see what happens.
We'll see what comes along.
What's your interest now? Do you still take a keen interest in the photography, or do you like to do other things?
Well, I do. I have a big interest in it, and I have a personal interest in it, myself. But no, I'll see what the future has for me.
Yeah. And it's nice to have more time for yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm, finding. It's great to have a little bit of time for myself.
And Boyle has been good to you throughout the years, Mary.
Oh, it has.
Yeah.
It has.
It's a nice town.
It has. Well, this is it. Yeah. So I'm just thinking, is there anything I've forgotten?
Yeah. Well, I always say at the end, is there anything that I haven't talked about that you'd like to talk about, or anything that you kind of feel like you'd like to say, or anything?
I want to thank my parents, John Tansey, and my mum, Kathleen Denniston, for all their help and assistance in the years gone by. They're both in eternity and enjoying it. And with my husband, Christy, and the Regan family, I want to thank everyone that has helped me over the years in any shape or form. And to thank my own children for helping me with the books, Enda, Joe and Evelyn, and all their help. And I'm looking forward to wonderful times. Now that I'm retired, I can take life easy and enjoy my extended family, who is Alva and Dominic. Slán go fóill.
Thank you so much, Mary.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.